Guys, I'm here with Andy Burrows of the Trades Coach. This guy is an absolute specialist in helping trades-based businesses grow their businesses and help them out with a whole bunch of other stuff. I wanted to bring him on the show today for the Landscaper Growth Series, a podcast growth series that we hope we can give you guys out there some knowledge on how you guys can grow your businesses. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation. So looking forward to it.
No worries. Andy, for those that out there that don't know who you are, you want to give us a bit of a backstory about you and what you do?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, I've been running the Trades Coach as a specialist business coaching, business advisory business for about 6 or 7 years now. So specialising in the wider construction industry. So probably, 2/3 of my clients, I guess, are probably independent builders, and then the balance are made up from different sub-trades, including landscaping and occasionally a sparky or plumber or what have you. So anything allied to the wider construction industry. And prior to that, I was a kind of a vanilla flavoured business coach for about 5 or 6 years before that. And prior to that, I was, in corporate, large business in the produce exporting game, so to speak. So really nothing about construction or business, but certainly, I guess, touching on horticulture, I suppose, and things like that. And my family background is in horticulture. My father was a grower, and my grandfather owned a nursery down in Southland. So certainly got a lot of feeling for the horticulture type of industry. So that's in a thumbnail. That's, I guess, what my background is, I guess.
So what was kind of like the motivation? You went from like corporate and then you went into construction. So what was the motivation to go, here is a steady, well, I wouldn't say comfortable, but a predictable, steady 9-to-5 job where you're going to get salary, holiday pay, sick days, all of the benefits. What was the motivation from going to that into the fire and going completely on your own?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes in my earlier days of developing my coaching business, I kind of asked myself the same questions again, to be perfectly honest, as I suppose a lot of business owners do. But I guess working for a big business, like you say, certainly can be comfortable with the they look after their people well with like I say, all that sort of stuff, and subsidised superannuation and medical insurance, and the list goes on. But that's all very well, but I guess they were satisfying my base needs. But working for a big business also can be a pretty frustrating kind of beast, and sort of got to that sort of point where I was getting a little bit of a sort of Groundhog Day type of scenario, I suppose, and hamster on the wheels scenario. And I've been doing the same sort of thing for a long time. And it's, I just really feeling it was a lot of grind for not a lot of satisfaction, I suppose. So, at that point, really, I suppose, it was time to do something completely different. I was already working for pretty much the biggest operator in the industry. So I figured, well, if I go work for somebody else doing the same thing, then it's kind of like a sideways or backwards step almost. So time to do something radically different. I'm not a radical type of person, so it was quite a big decision of mine, I suppose, to leave the comfort of the corporate world and break out my own. And I guess I looked at a couple of different businesses in that sort of area, but the business sort of coaching kind of world was possibly a natural kind of fit for me. And that sort of people to people type or business to business type of environment, helping people is what I used to enjoy doing as part of the role. And I guess my experience with my academic background, having a Bachelor of Commerce degree, I'm not an accountant, but I've qualified with financial accounting and marketing and management and that sort of stuff. And experience in big business was a natural kind of fit for helping owners of smaller businesses put some of the bigger businesses' disciplines
Yeah.
into place, which is often they miss out on, I suppose, or don't know about. So yeah, that was the motivation, I suppose, and yeah, I wanted to, young kids, wanted to be able to spend a bit more time with them and have a bit more flexibility around my timing and things like that. So yeah, that was the key motivations.
Cool, man. Look, if we can kind of zero down, because you've got quite a lot of experience here in other trades and so on and so forth, we can kind of like zero down on landscaping businesses. I'm not quite sure how many you've had in the past, but can you see kind of like patterns with a lot of landscaping businesses that you can kind of share with us? Patterns in terms of the same problems. Are they coming to you with like the same things, or is it quite unique across the board?
Well, every business certainly has their own unique issues or takes on a common kind of theme.
Yeah.
But certainly there's commonalities often across a lot of landscaping businesses, and I guess the main areas, and as you indicated in your intro, the people that run the businesses are often highly skilled, passionate people around the technical side of the business, as the doing it kind of side of things, and they may well have qualifications, possibly horticultural qualifications, so they can spiel off the Latin names of all sorts of different plants and what have you, and know what goes where and what have you. But like you say, it's those other business related issues around it. So it's sort of like a three-legged stool with one good sort of solid leg being the technical sort of stuff, and two sort of shorter wobbly ones being around maybe some of the marketing and sales issues, and then perhaps the management issues, finance management, team management, client management issues around those. So I often sort of try and boil down some businesses into the basic functions of them, sort of three main areas, I suppose.
Okay.
It's kind of getting the work.
So that's like prospecting kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the marketing sort of side of things, and then going on to the quoting stuff and the sales areas of the business.
That's all one area. So like prospecting, quoting, follow up, getting the work kind of thing. That's all one area. Okay, cool.
Okay. So that one, and then the next area is doing the work. Yes, obviously, most of my clients are better skilled in doing the work.
Yeah.
That said, where I help them in is perhaps improving some of the systems and processes around doing the work, to make sure that they look at the efficiency of doing the work, and making sure that after you've done all the hard work and doing the marketing and the quoting the thing and selling it, you've got the job there. Great. How do you make sure that the expected profit of the job doesn't leak out of the job in the doing sort of side of it? Because what I do see sometimes is often jobs that do blow out, labour blows out, or sometimes even materials, or there's some scope creep in the job, and that's not captured, and the client's not paying for it. So what could be a good profitable job turns out to be less than ideal, or God forbid goes negative, because of those sort of systems management issues in the doing it. So so that's another area. And then
can I just stop you there? Can I just kind of jump in on that scope creep area?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because I hear this a lot, right? Maybe this is a cultural thing. I don't know if you can kind of touch on this as well, but I hear a lot of the a few of my clients that have done jobs in the past, and we're talking, on paper they're like $100,000-$200,000 job. This isn't a $5,000 fence, right? This is a big job, and then at the end of it, you think, "Wow, big job. That was a really good job." But oftentimes the things get added into the job as they go on a big job, right? But that doesn't really get either discussed, or that doesn't get finalized, or whose fault is it there? I think it's the guy doing the job's fault not to communicate that, hey, we're going to use this other paving system because you thought the other one looked like crap. So we're going to go for the expensive stuff, and it's it's going to cost you an extra $20,000 or something like that. So that scope creep discussion I have, or I know that comes up quite a lot. What's your, without going into too much, but what do you kind of recommend your clients do so that things don't blow out at the end of the final payment?
Yeah, well, certainly that. It's if it was just one word, I would say communication is probably the issue, and often, maybe 80% or more of issues that I see in frustrations or job issues can perhaps be sheeted home to poor communications or communications that could be better. So what I look at is, okay, rather than sort of blame, okay, it's the owner's fault or it's somebody or other's fault for doing it. Okay, well, I always look for, okay, how can that sort of stuff be systemized out of the business, or how can most of those issues be systemized out? And that comes down to putting a little bit more formality around some of those communication points. And that's obviously particularly probably critical areas after the job has been sold and perhaps before the job has started. So there's a window of opportunity there to perhaps formalise some of the communication processes and not exactly read the riot act to the client, but
make them aware.
Scenarios. If this happens, this is what we'll do. And here's an example of, let's take that project creep, scope creep, or variations, or whatever you like to call them. Have that discussion with the client after, or before the job has started. So say, well, this is the, reconfirm, this is the scope of what you've employed us or hired us to do, this, that, and other thing. What happens sometimes is that we make some changes. You might, want some extras in, or change your mind on materials or what have you. That's fine. We can do that. That's what we call a variation. This is the way we're going to handle it. Here's an example of a variation form or something or other that we'll fill out just to make sure we record it all. So we'll get that, and if it's over a certain amount of money, we'll get that price for you, get you to approve it, and then we will add that to your next week's bill or whatever the arrangements are. And so there's actually a formalised process, as opposed to what happens often is that it's all verbal. Somebody comes in and, I saw this picture in a magazine about these things. They look wonderful. Can you do those? And the person, the landscaper says, yes, sweet, no worries. So they go ahead and do it. Don't bill it right away, and then maybe add it in the end. And then the client goes, holy crap, I didn't think it was going to cost that much, or I thought that was included. I thought you were going to do that anyway, and you get all these dramas. And unfortunately what happens then, often at the end of the deal, the landscaper, kind of discounts some of that price because they want to get their final bill paid. So it's sort of like putting your hand in your pocket, dragging out a whole lot of money, sticking it on the ground and setting fire to it, basically, is what you're eventually doing. So it's about systemising those communication processes, formalising them without going, over the top, but again, getting away from just doing things verbally, having a formalised process.
Cool. All right. So that was the second, doing the work, and the final one. The final one's really, I guess, the boring stuff around accounting for the work. Effectively, what's the administration? So what's the flow of information from the field through to the office? And is that a separate person? Is that the wife? Is that a bookkeeper? Or is it the landscaper themselves that's doing that kind of bookkeeping, accounting sort of stuff? Are the invoices getting done on time? Are all those little variations being added to each invoice
on a timely basis, so then you can have a discussion with the client saying, okay, this is kind of what the budget for the job was.
Yep.
We're halfway through. Okay, so that's about halfway through the budget.
Yep.
Plus you've added in this, and this, so that's added X amount to the expected budget.
Yep.
And having those, so that's, there's nothing sexy about that, but it needs to be done, and the more it can be smoothed out and perfected, then you can start to automate it or delegate it to somebody else. So those are sort of three issues. Find the work, do the work, account for the work is the basic kind of flow, I suppose, of a job through a business.
Yeah.
So then it's me finding out what's the owner doing.
Yeah.
Where can I add some lemon juice to what they're doing, make it better, or what are they not doing at all, and so I can drop in a reasonably good to go system, and then adapt it for their particular situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, because there's some guys out there doing all three.
Yep.
On their own.
And that's pretty common, especially when you start out small. You effectively have to do everything yourself because, they feel they have to do everything themselves because, it's very much a cost mentality type of thing and a reality sort of situation. They feel they can't afford to have a bookkeeper or what have you do it, so they do it all at night and what have you. And maybe in the very early days that's a reality that you have to kind of go through those hard yards and do everything yourself if you're relatively small.
Yep.
But the key is to get off that hamster wheel as fast as possible and start to look at delegating some of those tasks away so you can focus on what you like to do and what you're probably better at doing anyway. And it's far better to pay a bookkeeper, part-time bookkeeper or administration person to do some of those sort of things, allowing you to focus on the more important stuff of selling the jobs and doing the jobs.
Yep. Is there any of them in there that they're all very, very important. I think that doing the work is probably the last thing you'd want to hand off to somebody, right? You've got to get someone in there, train them up. But out of the getting the work, finding the work, and that paperwork, admin-y type stuff, are there any things that you say, top of your list to get off your list pretty quickly, or is it pretty much a case-by-case kind of basis?
It is a little bit case-by-case, but I guess it's usually around that admin sort of area is one of the first sort of things that people are pretty keen to get rid of because they don't really like doing it, and often they're not very good at doing it. So you can employ a part-time bookkeeper for X number of hours a week or a month or what have you. Yeah. And she or he can look after that sort of stuff way more effectively and efficiently than you probably can. Yeah. So that's where I'd certainly start. Then I would go into obviously the scaling the business and the production sort of side of it, to look at some of the site management processes and what have you. Right. As you try and scale that you need to hire or add more worker bees to your business to be able to do this sort of stuff. And that will quite quickly get to a situation whereby you need a good type of foreman type of role within your business to be able to make sure that jobs are being managed properly in the field. Yep. And it's not you driving around constantly, every day driving around lots of different sites. You're able to sort of develop a role that, yes, you can drop into sites once or twice a week. But the foreman is driving the delivery of the job to make sure it's coming in on time, on budget, and to the right specifications.
Got it, man. Got it.
Yeah, probably the sales role will be one of the latter ones to give away. Obviously, a lot of my clients tend to be, they're not really, really big businesses. They don't have multiple layers of bid management. And probably that sales role is probably one that the owner probably keeps the longest before moving away to hiring a salesperson.
Yeah, got it. So when you're first starting out, it's obvious, don't have a lot of cash flow, doing everything yourself. But when the jobs start rolling in though, let's just say you've got you do earthworks, you do digger type fence, retaining wall, site cuts, earth moving type work, right?
Yep.
So with one digger and yourself, you can pretty much handle a driveway. But when that one driveway turns into, once you start getting 2 jobs at the same time, let alone 3 jobs at the same time, then you're really struggling, right? It's like the dream of being self-employed, and this is in my industry, in marketing, online digital marketing. Everyone comes into online digital marketing thinking, I've got myself a client. As soon as that second client and third client comes along, the dream's over. Because you're doing everything, like you said before, you're doing everything. You're doing the finding the work, the doing the work, and the admin stuff. And with digital marketing, it's all admin. The screen that we're looking at right now, I stare at the screen for 12 hours a day. You know what I mean? So as soon as that third client comes along, forget it. May as well just turn them away because you can't do the work. The point I was getting at was it's very important for them to understand this kind of systems processes quite early. So that when they do start getting that third or fourth client job on at the same time, they can put things in place, as opposed to that hamster wheel that I find a lot of.
Yeah, and it obviously takes a little bit of time and effort to document and build those systems in your business. And you get the argument, I'm just too busy to do that side of it, So because they're just they're just busy being busy. But it's something that is essential to be able to help the owner scale his business a little bit bigger than just a one-man band. And once you start employing anybody, be they employees or contractors, you've got management issues, and the best way to handle those management issues is through having some documented systems and processes to make sure that there is a checklist that they must go through before they start that cut. And pre-start checklist, a during the job checklist, and then a end of job checklist, or whatever the system may be, to make sure that it's being delivered as if the boss was there, actually doing it or managing it. So it's not, it can be relatively simple to do those things. It's just not easy, and sometimes it's a mental thing first. That delegation process, there's definitely 2 sides of it. There's the mental sort of side of delegation, and then there's the physical. Okay, how do you actually physically delegate a task? But often it's better to start. I have to work sometimes on the mental sort of side of it with an owner first, saying, "You are not Superman.
Nope.
It's not all. It doesn't need to be all down to you. If it is all down to you, then you've got yourself a job. You own a job. You don't have a true business. So
that's pretty much it, man. You got a job.
So you've got to be able to get people off that mentality of if it's got to be, it has to be me. And sometimes that's quite a reasonable step for some people to take. Some people are quite happy to take that step, but some people aren't. So that has to happen first. And then obviously, how do you delegate it? What sort of tools do you use to delegate it? Is it some sort of documented checklist, or is it some sort of picture thing, or a video, or what have you? Lots of different tools you can use these days. But developing those systems will enable the owner to be able to scale the business and address frustrations and profit leaks better, rather than having to rush around stamping out files all over the place.
So the clients that you typically work with are going through that kind of growth phase, would you say? They've gone past the one-man band working 20 hours a day, and they've got one or two maybe employees, but they're just not doing it as efficiently as they could be. Would that be fair? Are those types of clients you're kind of getting?
Yep, definitely. That's probably my bread and butter, really. What I call that sort of teenager stage of a business.
Yeah.
And you give birth to this beautiful baby business, and it's all your hopes and aspirations are wrapped up in this little baby.
Yeah.
And it's cute and it's controllable while it's small and it's fun and what have you. Then as you start adding in different aspects to it, like you say, hiring more people, doing more jobs, and the numbers get bigger, it goes a bit like sometimes a teenage human goes, a little bit feral.
Yep.
And hard to manage, and you're thinking, where's my beautiful baby business that I used to enjoy?
Yeah.
And so some people at that point, during that sort of teenage sort of stage, they think, okay, well, I'll go back to having a baby business again and just go back, scale it right back to a one-man band again.
Happens a lot.
Yep. So that's their decision. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or do you push through that teenage stage and then go on to what we call the success sort of stage, which is far more stable, better systemized. They've learned some more business skills about how to manage that sort of teenage business and how to push through that sort of stage, up to not necessarily a big business. It's still relatively small in size, but it's more profitable, more stable. They're able to make a good living out of it.
Yeah.
And then again, a lot of businesses stay at that sort of stage, and that's perfectly okay. Some obviously then push on that really want to scale and go much bigger. That's fine. That's few people do that, and all power to them.
Yeah.
They want to become the next big company.
Sure.
Perfect. Great. They all start somewhere.
Yep. Yeah,
so, but that teenage stage, because that's where a lot of the pain and problems and issues arise.
Yep.
And perhaps they've been in business for a few years and realise that they need some outside input to help them.
Yep.
That's probably the most common.
Yeah. The sweet spot for you, really.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably where I can add the most value to those sort of businesses.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because that's typically our most common type of business that finds us, or has seen some of our content, or seen one of my videos, or along those lines. They're typically in the 3-4 plus company.
Yep.
And they're looking to capitalize on a lot of the developments and residential stuff that's going on, particularly here in Auckland. Anyway, for those that are watching, this is in Auckland, so we are very low on houses, and there's a lot of competition as well. But typically it's a 3 to 4 man. I mean, but for those who aren't 3 to 4 at the moment, they are one man, or woman. What kind of advice would you have for those guys? I mean, they could probably rewatch this video and get a whole bunch of stuff, but is there any kind of gold nugget that you can kind of throw at those guys that are aspiring to be there, but they're just they're one man at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I guess going into those key areas, I suppose, like getting the work. To me, I think it's important to look at finding out where your niche is in the marketplace, and from a marketing perspective, you're thinking, okay, I'm just a little one-man band business or one-woman business here. How can I make a splash in the marketplace?
Yep.
And that's definitely difficult to make much noise if you are trying to be all things to all people and get lots of different types of work.
Yep.
Sometimes a braver way to go, obviously, is to perhaps niche yourself a little bit. Look at the type of work, obviously, perhaps that you may have some specific skills in, I'm not quite sure, or a particular interest in. Is there enough of interest in that market for you to be able to become known as a bit of a go-to person in that area?
Yep.
So I think from a marketing perspective, sometimes it's easier to make, or you can get bigger bang for your buck if you happen to have a specific target, whether that's a particular garden style that you want to be focusing on, or it may be just a unique sort of way that you do the process, or or a unique type of client that you deal with. You're focusing specifically on retired people over the age of 75 who are still at home and need some help, to do some of the things around their house or something. I don't know. Or it might be, people helping to put playgrounds in kindergartens or something. Whatever.
There's a lot of niches, right? There's so many, and quite rightfully so. If you can focus on something, and I suppose we could say this in general terms. I mean, we could have a look at your business. You only work with the trades industries. Look at our business. We only work with landscapers.
Yep.
But it's also hard, right? It's also hard to say no. If you're the garden maintenance go-to guy or woman for the kindergartens or the preschools.
Yep.
And then a high school comes to you and says, "Oh, I understand you did the preschool across the road.
Yep.
Ours is 10 times bigger."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not suggesting that they say no to those jobs.
Sure.
Because work will potentially perhaps come to you around the edges of your niche anyway.
Okay.
And that's a really good example. So yes, you're specialising in doing kindergartens, and the people from the high school learned about it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's great. So that to me indicates that your marketing focus and niche is working, because you've built that reputation in that area.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily will say no to the high school. You might well say yes, that's fantastic. It's just that when you are thinking of doing your proactive marketing activities,
right?
What you're deliberately trying to target is kindergarten playgrounds or something or other.
Yep.
So that makes it very, very easy, and naturally referrals and other things will come to you anyway.
True.
So that's fine. So then you can choose whether you say yes or no to that sort of work.
Yep.
But what I was more specifically referring to was specifically the messaging, right, and the target people that you're actually getting. If you could define your perfect customer, that's where you're aiming. Yep. And then just naturally you'll get others come to you anyway. So that's perfectly okay.
Yep.
So that's fine. So I think from a marketing point of view, niching is going to make a smaller operator. It's potentially a slightly more braver way to go. A lot of people sort of think, I might miss out on jobs over here or over here if I focus on this job over here. Arguably, it is a slightly braver way to go, but I think it's a more effective way to go.
The funny thing is, though, is that if you're a one-man band, you can't do it all.
No.
So when we speak to a new client, we say, as a service-based business here in Auckland, I say, well, which areas do you want to focus on? Well, we go Auckland-wide. I said, okay, fine. And let's just say they're on the North Shore. Yep. I said, okay, fine. So are you saying that you'll take a job in Pocono, which is from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the afternoon? It'll take 2 hours to get to Pocono. Well, maybe not 2 hours, but an hour and a half to get down to Pocono to price up a job, and then an hour and a half back. And they would always say this, depends on the size of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I said, okay, I get that. But the likelihood of you getting $1 million job down in Pocono when you're a one-man band, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it's happened in the past. Yep. But there is a fear of, well, I don't want to be just on the North Shore because they think the North Shore's tiny, but it's actually ginormous. And if they can be the go-to man or woman for certain size gardens in a certain size suburb, there's actually a lot of opportunity there, as opposed to the jack of all trades. I can do anything type of person. But it's very difficult to kind of have that conversation, because you're essentially telling them, they might get defensive about things like that. So
no, I think that's right. But these days it's a lot easier, to niche yourself geographically, obviously, with things, obviously what you do with online, which is obviously your space and things like that, and through local Facebook groups within the neighbourhood or neighbourly itself, and all these sort of things, and semi-branding yourself or messaging, that you're a specialist in, East Coast Bays,
whatever,
offshore or something rather, what have you. Fantastic. So from a small business point of view, sometimes pays, to be a little bit braver in that area, or seemingly braver in that area.
Be brave.
And then as you're doing the work, certainly start to think about developing some of those sort of checklists and systemizing your business as you go. So it's systemizing your business is not unlikely to be just a one-time, one-hit type of exercise. It's something that evolves over months or years, or you never even finish it, basically. So there's no reason why a one-man band person can't start systemizing their business and just keep a bit of a check of, a checklist of what are the basic tools that I need for these jobs. Okay, you kind of know that anyway as a one-man band. Okay, why not just write it out as a checklist? So then if you hire somebody else, then you give them the, okay, here's your tool checklist to make sure that you have all these tools before you drive away in the morning. And more importantly, make sure you have all these tools, at the end of the day, make sure you check them back onto your truck or whatever, so you don't lose stuff. So those are, you develop some quite simple systems as a small business, which will be very useful for you, in near future, I would think.
Yeah, people can just do that with doesn't have to be on a phone or anything, right? You can just do that with a piece of paper and stuff, I think. I think because when you're, and this, whether you're a builder or consultant, what have you, you just kind of do things. It's just kind of, someone from the outside will see you doing something. It just kind of looks like magic because you've done it over and over and over and over again without even thinking about it. But when you kind of document things, and we've had to do this in our business as well, when you start documenting things start happening very, very slowly. So let's just take this interview, for instance, right? We're using Skype. But how did I come to Skype? Well, I had to research what the best video conferencing tools were, then do a whole bunch of research behind that, right? And then figure out how to record. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is very slow when everything is quite magical and just kind of happens on the whim. And I'm sure this happens in every business in landscaping as well.
And you sent me a little checklist as what the things to be prepared with and what have you, which is awesome. So that makes it, when you do the next one,
exactly.
It's going to be that much more efficient that you can send off that checklist.
It's not going to be as good as this one. It's not going to be as good as this one, man.
Possibly not.
Possibly not.
Hey,
just in closing though, how can someone watching this get in contact with you?
Well, probably the simplest way is jump on my website. So there's www.tradescoach.co.nz.
Tradescoach.co.nz. I'll leave a link below this video as well. But okay, so tradescoach.co.nz, trades with an S.
With an S, tradescoach.co.nz. So that's possibly a good place to start. There's there's resources on the website that they can download. There's a guide on the front page. There's lots of blog articles on there under the free advice tab, so they can get a bit of a feel for some of the stuff that I do, and then from there drop us they can contact as a contact form on the website, so that's fine.
Cool.
So that's possibly the best channel to start with, or if somebody's got an itch they need scratching right away, they can give us a call on 027 688 6721 is my mobile.
Okay.
Or Andy at tradescoach.co.nz is the email.
Okay.
Yep. And if I usually will, and I work with people remotely as well. I've got clients around New Zealand that I work with via Skype and what have you. Even at a spark in Canada, though, I worked with for a while, so I'm international now. So
excellent.
So it's good. So a lot of the processes I have work quite
international
well
as well.
remotely.
Yep.
So that's cool. So I have a process, a diagnostic process and strategy development process that I work with my clients, depending on which area we're working on.
Yep.
And that's that obviously can be either face to face across the table, or it can be through a Skype, or some sort of session like that. So
nice.
That's good. Yep.
Nice. Well, listen, Andy, thanks so much for being on the show today. And for you guys out there that are looking to go to that kind of next level, away from one man, one woman band, and do it properly, because we all know those companies out there that have gone there and perhaps have been stung, or they haven't put things in place. So therefore, their mentality is, it didn't work first time, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm sure you've come across, things like that as well. If you're looking to do it properly, and you want to go into that teenage years and have a good experience in your adolescence, people like Andy, you can reach out to and have a conversation, or give him an email on that as well. But Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome, and thanks again for the invite, and we'll keep in touch.
Cheers, matey. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.